I want to start by stating my intention for this video, which is to help men understand women. I think it is necessary for men to understand women's point of view to help build unity and to tear down patriarchy. Though I am still a man, so when I speak on women's point of view, I'm going to miss things, so bear with me. First and foremost, men scare women. Women are afraid of us because lots of men are violent. They are violent in their pursuit of women, violent in their handling of rejection of women, and violent in their rhetoric about women. Let's start with some facts. 1 in 4 women have been sexually assaulted since the age of 16. 1 in 6 girls have been sexually abused by the time they reach 16. About 5 out of 6 women who are raped or sexually abused don't report it. And only around 3% of rapes reported lead to a charge. I give these stats to say women have a very real reason to be afraid of men. Not only is it very common for a woman to be sexually assaulted, but physical violence from a man to his partner is reported at 1 in 6 couples. And again, that is only what is reported. Men need to understand that our very existence is a threat for women, because it isn't like we have a sticker on our forehead that says we will be violent or not. Men are also more likely to commit crimes. So women have to be afraid of a man potentially being physically violent, verbally violent, sexually violent, or criminally violent. If we as men understood the level of fear women have just existing with men around, maybe we would do a better job at facilitating a safer environment for them, taking their suggestions on how to do so when they tell us, and not chalking it up to dramatics. Believing women and taking them seriously when they tell us of violence they have endured, or when they have a gut feeling about someone. But men, let's also be honest. We know that men aren't safe. That's why we try to dictate how women dress, how women act, and who they can be around. We tell them to not dress too revealing, or else a man might rape her, or might feel entitled to harass and disrespect her, treating her as if she's a sexual object instead of a human being. And when men do rape a woman, we have the audacity to question her role in that happening to her, instead of questioning what is wrong with our society that men are doing that so often. We tell women to not be angry or offended or speak out when a man is rude or treating them disrespectfully, because that man might turn around and hit her, or worse. We tell women to not befriend men, because every man has a secret agenda that he is just waiting for the perfect opportunity to play out. We put the burden of responsibility on the woman to behave, instead of calling out the problematic behavior our society has in raising men. We pretend that men are just hardwired the way that they are, and there is no controlling them. So women have to be the ones who control themselves. We are giving men a pass, the same way we would give an animal for being violent and impulsive, instead of holding men to a higher standard. Men even question my motives in putting out these videos, because men understand that a large majority of other men aren't safe or to be trusted. So when women treat all men as if they are bad, and are angry at all men, try and understand why. Don't try and disprove them through talk, disprove them through your actions, through genuinely being a safe man to be around, without ulterior motives. Men, we are also scared of other men. We know how men can be unpredictable. Even we are fearful of men at times due to the threat of violence. How often do you find yourself fearing a woman? I say this to try and get us as men to understand that women should fear us and shouldn't trust us, and that we as men should be cognizant of that fact and actively try to create conditions for women to feel more safe in the world and more safe in our presence. This is going to be hard to hear, but it is the truth. Most men don't like confident women. Men will try and tear down women who are sure of themselves. I'll give you examples. Think of a woman who claims herself to be a 10, who loves the way she looks. Men will be in her comments tearing her down as if her 10 is based on their rating of her instead of just how she feels about herself. Another example is if a woman has high standards. Men feel the need to tell her what she is really worth and how her standards need to be dropped if she ever wants to find a man. Everybody should have high standards. How will we ever get what we want if we don't hold what we want as the standard? And also, who are we to tell anyone to lower their standards, let alone a stranger? Another example is women dressing for the male gaze. We assume based on what a woman is wearing that they want our attention and potential harassment, instead of assuming that a woman is wearing the clothes she is wearing because she likes how she looks in it, and that makes her feel more confident. Or when a woman says no sternly, how that makes men feel like she should have been apologetic or softer with her rejection, instead of just saying it for what it is. Not to mention if a woman is making more than them, how that makes them feel emasculated or small. Men, it's hard for some of us to be around a confident woman. That is why so many guys exclaim they want a submissive wife who doesn't challenge their authority or advocate strongly for themselves. Because let's be clear, that is what they truly mean when they say submissive. But here's the thing. If we want to grow to our fullest potential as men, we need strong, confident women around us. Women who will call us on our shit and push us to look at the things inside of us that are hurting others and hurting ourselves. We should want a woman who loves the way she looks and who dresses and expresses herself in a way that she enjoys, as should we. We should want a woman who has high standards because that will push us to grow into better human beings. We should aim to be with a confident woman because her confidence will only make us a better, more secure man. If you're enjoying this video, please do like, subscribe if you haven't, and leave a comment. Lots of men don't handle rejection well, which is very scary for women. Some men react with belittling and hurtful comments. Some men try to persevere in hopes that the woman changes her mind. Some men just straight up get violent. Men, we need to understand that we aren't entitled to a yes. We aren't even entitled to a soft no. Women are allowed to say, I'm not interested, and nothing else. I explain this in hopes to get men to understand that when we approach women, they don't know how we will handle their rejection. So they're already on edge. Keeping that in mind, we could do a better job at making women feel safe when we approach, by respecting women's time, by being direct and kind in our intentions, and by handling whatever response with grace and integrity. Understanding women's anger at men is key for unity and change. Women are angry at men because lots of men are awful to women. I'm not saying you are, but tons of men are. Awful by being violent towards women. Awful by disrespecting women. Awful by treating women like sexual objects. Awful by cheating on them or not being thoughtful or expecting their lady to be their mom or their maid. Too many men act like this and then turn around and say women are gold diggers, hoes, or bitches. They say women expect too much and don't give anything in return. Women are automatically expecting us to be just like the plenty of other shitty men who they have encountered in their life. So when a woman says she hates men, understand that she is saying she hates these characteristics in men. We don't need to get defensive. Just understand and hold that very real pain. And of course, don't perpetuate or defend those toxic behaviors. Another thing I believe is necessary to understand is that men's anger towards women is not the same thing as women's anger towards men. Men, especially those online, are mad at women for rejecting them or for holding their toxic beliefs and actions accountable. Whereas women are mad at men for actively hurting them and not changing or feeling any remorse about it. Women are mad because men are apathetic and manipulative. Men are mad because women are not suffering for men in the ways that they used to. For example, there are men who say women aren't good the way their grandmothers or mothers used to be anymore. And in what sense were their grandmothers and mothers good? By cleaning, by cooking, by taking care of their husband's wants and needs before taking care of themselves, by dealing with their husband's outbursts and not holding them accountable, by letting the man lead and not daring to question his authority. Men are so desperately clinging on to these unfair expectations and power dynamics in their relationships. Instead, we need to embrace equality in the home, meaning a fair sharing of responsibilities, whether that be cooking, chores, childcare, financial planning, or emotional support. Men, we need to accept that women are done putting up with the BS your mom or your grandmother put up with. They won't accept anything less than equality in the home and a happy, healthy relationship, which most of y'all's parents and grandparents didn't have, by the way. I promise you, your relationship will be happier if you adopt true equality in the household. There will be less resentment, a stronger connection, better communication, and even better sex. The last thing I want to touch on when it comes to women's anger is the comment, "Who hurt you?" Let's be real. The people who say this don't actually care about the response. They just want an excuse to call the woman bitter so they feel justified to not hear her criticism. You aren't justified. You're acting like a child. Instead of "who hurt you" energy, let's give "how can we be better so we don't hurt you" energy. In a relationship, women have an emotional and mental toll that is not felt by the man. It's this way in my relationship as well, to be honest. Most of the time, it's hard for me to remember what chores need to get done and on what day. My fiance has had to fill me in on what is expected, and luckily has been patient enough with me that I've been able to catch on for the most part. That mental load for her is when to take our dog to the vet, what we're going to cook for the week, and so on. And for partners with kids, there are a ton more tasks. The mother typically is the one who either needs to do or needs to remember to tell her husband to do. Scheduling doctor visits, packing kids' lunches, making the grocery lists, etc. Us men need to be more aware of this mental load and try to ease it for our women by being proactive and thinking about those tasks along with her, and by doing them before she needs to, or before she needs to tell us that we need to. This will go a long way in preventing resentment and exhaustion from the women in our lives. The emotional toll that most women carry is the emotional support that women provide for men by being their support system and typically the only person in their lives that they feel comfortable being vulnerable with. Women typically are the ones who push for emotions to be shared and conversations to be had, which is the only way growth will happen in the relationship. Women carry the burden of healing in the relationship. Now, I'm not saying that this is the case in all relationships, just the majority of them. I want to challenge us men to get in tune with our emotions and start finding friends and therapists we can be vulnerable with so that the burden of our emotions and healing isn't solely put on the woman in our lives. And I'm not saying to hide your emotions from your woman, but to learn to disperse and distribute them so that no one person, i.e. your lady, is holding all of your emotions and pain. It is important for us men to understand how certain rhetoric and ideas we have around women end up in us treating women more like our property than as an equal human being with the same inherent value that we have. For example, body count. We feel like a woman is permanently tainted by other men, that a man has something over us if he has been with the same women as we have, or vice versa, that we have something over him. If we saw women the same way we see men, it really wouldn't matter who she has been with in her past. Nobody can taint a person's worth or value. Her worth and value is the person she is in this moment, her character, her morals, her kindness, etc. Just like how a man isn't tainted by the women he has slept with in his past, a woman isn't tainted by the men she has slept with in her past either. It's treating women like they are a possession, like they are a car who has had too many owners. Emphasis on owners, instead of as a human being whose value is based on who they are as a person. Another example is men not addressing women when that woman's man is around out of respect for the man. Obviously, being kind and respectful is different than being flirtatious. Let's not be insecure if our woman is chatting with another man. It isn't being respectful to the man to disregard or not address his woman. It's prioritizing how a man might feel insecure, again, for no reason, rather than treating women with respect and like an equal human being. I think the big takeaway for us men to understand is that women have goals, ambitions, strengths, weaknesses, trauma, and almost all of the same wants and desires that we have. We need to stop viewing women in their relation to men and instead view women as who they are as a human being. Viewing women in relation to men is devaluing her worth based on how she dresses, on how many men she has slept with, on how many guy friends she has, on how chatty she is with men, etc., etc. I want to drill this point in. Women are complex human beings as we are. A woman isn't bad or less valuable because she has had a past. A woman is valuable based on who she is at this moment, how she shows up for others, how she shows up for herself, her character, her personality, her compassion. That's all that should matter for a woman, just like it's all that matters for a man. First and foremost, I want to dispel this idea that most women want men for their money or resources. It's honestly such a small percentage. Yes, some men believe that those women give them the right to treat all women with disrespect, the justification to abuse and manipulate women for their benefit. If you are afraid a woman wants you for your money, then say your expectations up front. For example, if I want a casual relationship where maybe I can take a woman on a few dates, have fun, and keep things light, that is what I should tell the woman I want up front. Say it confidently, assuredly, and kindly. And if the woman isn't interested in that, okay, next. There will be plenty of other women interested in that dynamic. Let's not normalize lying to women, pretending to want something, or pretending to be someone to impress and coerce the women to give us what we want. It will only end in heartache for the women and headaches for the man. And of course, it's selfish, traumatic, hurtful, and is a huge proponent of distrust and anger that women have towards men. I want to be clear, if a woman has used you for your money or is currently using you, that is wrong. But that doesn't give you the right to abuse women after. That's like saying a Puerto Rican guy robbed you in the past, so now you believe every Puerto Rican is a thief, and that gives you the right to mistreat and abuse every Puerto Rican you encounter from here on out. It's illogical. And it isn't even remotely true. Don't let the hurt of your past dictate your character, your morals, and how you show up in the world. Women today are resisting patriarchy and not dating men at such a staggering rate, and I understand why. Women should be boycotting men until men improve. Men, we shouldn't be advising, typically in a demeaning way, for women to lower their standards, because as you say, if they don't, they will die lonely and unhappy. First off, women in droves will tell you they are happier single. I get plenty of comments telling me so, and my fiance and I have plenty of single women friends who live happy, fulfilled, adventurous lives, and who will proudly tell you that they don't want a man coming in and ruining that. Trying to convince women to settle for subpar men isn't the solution. Holding yourself and other men accountable is. If we want to be in happy, healthy relationships, we should improve and not demand women deal and accept their unhappiness. This is growth, not simping. Some men have made becoming a better human being and a better man a weakness instead of a strength. They have made taking accountability something only bitches do. It's toxic, damaging, and needs to change, full stop. And if we don't change it, we will keep chasing superficial validation through sex and power dynamics. We won't be truly happy until we learn how to drop our egos, our want to control, embrace vulnerability, heal ourselves, and deeply connect and allow ourselves to be truly intimate with others. I understand why women don't want to date the current man, because the woman in the relationship is typically putting up with a man who is distant, who is inconsiderate, and who isn't in touch with his emotions. What does the woman get out of this dynamic? Just sex? Which I'm going to assume doesn't end with an orgasm for her, because if you can't be considerate in general, why would I assume you can be considerate in the bedroom? And maybe she gets a few free dinner dates, but that comes along with heartache and pain. And I say that because if you are distant, apathetic, and inconsiderate, you are inevitably going to hurt the women you are dealing with. And some men might say, well, what do I get out of the situation other than sex, less money, and wasted time? You don't get anything else because you aren't allowing for anything else. You are too scared to get hurt, so you hurt her before she has the chance to hurt you. Brother, I promise you, your relationships in your life will be so much more enjoyable if you took the chance of getting hurt and made yourself vulnerable. The joy of intimacy and true connection is worth the risk of getting hurt. And if you do get hurt, be proud you were brave enough to feel and trust that just like with everything else in life, you will get back up and be better from it. Be a courageous man. Men, we hear it all the time. We are supposed to be the leaders, the heads of our household, and our women are supposed to follow. This expectation patriarchy has placed on us has made us feel emasculated when a woman knows more than we do, when a woman leads us, or God forbid, when a woman questions or challenges our knowledge on a topic. This emasculation makes us feel angry and stubborn. So instead of taking the woman's criticism and feedback and using that to grow and improve, we dig our heels in and double down. Obviously, this expectation of leadership based on our genitals is not helping us be better men. This also makes it extremely difficult for a woman in the workforce. Whether she's an employee and her opinion and voice is devalued or ignored, or whether she is the employer and her male employees don't respect her authority, or think her leading style is bossy and bitchy when she's just being confident and straightforward. Men, we don't realize that we have these prejudices against women, that we are subtly finding ways to demean or disregard women in the workplace through sexualizing them, through highlighting flaws, through questioning her qualifications, or through straight up ignoring her. We need to understand that whether we like it or not, women are leaders too. Women are just as capable as us. We need to put our egos aside and allow women to lead when they know more than we do, and be honest and humble enough to know when that is. I'm not saying to not have an opinion. I'm saying to value and respect hers. Leadership should be based on competence and abilities, full stop. Gender should never be a factor when deciding who should lead. And when I say competence and abilities, I mean a leader should be knowledgeable and wise, should know how to delegate, know how to listen, know when to take the reins, and know how to be decisive, which, just to make clear, none of those qualities are gender exclusive. Men believing women are below them is literally, by definition, belittling and therefore harmful to women. If you believe you should be the leader of your relationship and that your woman should follow you, Just because you're a man, you have some serious self-reflection to do. A relationship will only reach its potential if instead of looking down on women, we truly see them on an equal footing, the same way we do for men. It is important to point out the harmful rhetoric that some men spew, claiming women would be happier in the home, taking care of the kids, and serving her husband. First and foremost, men shouldn't tell women what they would be most happy doing. That is such a ridiculous way of thinking. It's like me, a Hispanic man, telling a black man that black people would be happiest working blue-collar jobs. Like, maybe that specific black man would be happy working a blue-collar job. But who am I to tell him or anybody else where they should work or what they should be aspiring to? Let women decide what will make them happiest. They are smart enough to figure it out on their own. Whatever that is, we should just be supporting the ambitions that they have and holding it with the same respect we have for our own goals and ambitions. It's really not that difficult or complicated. And I know plenty of men are going to be like, duh, I already do this. I only say this to counter the harmful red pill rhetoric that is infecting men online. Men, deep down, I know a vast majority of us aren't evil, although some women think we are. And I didn't make this video to tear us down. Quite the opposite. I made it to empower us to be better. A lot of the things I talked about in this video, I had to take time and learn, unpack, and grow through. The ways in which we are acting are harmful and deeply damaging to women and ultimately to us. Women will continue to be angry and distrustful, and men will continue to react to that anger with defensiveness and anger of their own until we make changes. Our job right now is to hold ourselves and other men accountable, to hold women's anger at us with understanding, love, and grace, and to actively fight against the patriarchy. We fight against the patriarchy by respecting women and their decisions, by creating safe environments for women, by going to therapy and learning how to be truly confident and secure in ourselves, and by actively helping the women in our lives, especially in the home. If we want happy, fulfilling lives, we have to find alignment with women, not by trying to force women to contort themselves to the ideologies and systems in place, which are causing them to shrink for the sake of their man, and which builds resentment. Men, we have been skirting accountability and blaming women for their unhappiness and resentment towards us for far too long. We can't start to do better if we are shaming men and calling them weak or simps for listening to women and for fighting against this patriarchal system that harms everyone. If we want to truly thrive and be free from the shackles of patriarchy's toxic expectations, we must model safe, loving, respectful masculinity, not the violent, controlling, belittling masculinity we have been conditioned to. Our lives can be filled with deeper connection, giving us relationships that are truly meaningful and healthy. We can begin to experience true intimacy that helps us heal and grow, and find deeper love with women that adds joy and meaning to our lives. But for that to happen, we have to let go of the prejudices and biases we hold against women. We have to finally listen, finally take accountability, and finally do better. I'm hopeful about the systems we can build together and the healthier, more joyful lives we can create. If we choose growth, we really can leave the next generation with something better than what was handed to us. Thank you for watching, and if this content resonates, please do like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It would mean a lot. Thank you so much for listening to me smack my gums, and hopefully together we can make this world truly a better place.